can say definitively that religions are all bullshit.
Amen, brother.
Well, you know me, I don't buy to BS.
I get paid to sign?
I don't fit into human nature.
Do not marry here.
What the hell was my point?
Welcome to Brainstorm, the home of hardcore skepticism. Woo-free since 2013. These skeptical atheists started a podcast to help spread critical thinking, skepticism, and some philosophic and scientific literacy. Host Cory is joined by Lana, Destin, Raz, Mike, Rene, and Dave as they discuss news, politics, science, philosophy, and religion in a fun and intelligent way. And now it's time to open your mind to the Brainstorm.
Welcome to Brainstorm. This is episode 34. Today is November 13th, 2015. I'm your host, Cory, and with me tonight are Rene, Lana, Destin, Leonel, and the always amazing Dave doing sound in Roman Empire Studios.
And we have a photographer in studio.
Yeah, and now our photographer is in studio. We... Yeah. We have our clip there.
We'll do it live. Fucking thing. We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Okay. Ready?
Fucking thing sucks. We'll do it live.
Okay.
Because this is our first ever live episode.
Hence the awkward.
Yeah, hence.
You'll get to hear how many actual awkward pauses there really are.
Yeah, that's right.
We're actually here for 7 hours every time.
Yeah, to get an hour and a half, eh?
Yeah.
All right, before I wanted to get into it, I wanted to say a couple things. Mike's not actually in studio with us at this point, but this is Mike's last episode before he moves away.
He'll be here. He's eating.
Okay.
He had his priorities.
Right, yeah, that's right. Raz has also left the show. If he's listening, I'd like to say thanks for the time he spent with us. This is actually 2 years we've been doing this show now, and looks like it's time for some change. We've got a new guy, Leonel, is joining us now. And, yeah, so that's about it. So I guess with that, we'll get on with the rest of the show. Start off with the Woo Report.
I'm not a scientist, but if I can tell you your science sucks, then your science really sucks.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck.
Yeah, I like that Bill Nye one. Okay, so Stanislaw Burzynski goes to court on November 19th. If you don't know who he is, he's he runs the Burzynski Research Institute, and he is known for antineoplaston therapy for cancer patients. And apparently it's a little dubious.
He's a knob.
So he's facing court on November 19th to see if he can lose it. He'll lose his license, and he won't be practicing anymore.
Now, was he the guy that just a little while ago where they had he's the all natural guy down in Florida, or is this a different guy?
This is a different guy.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Antineoplaston therapy is, where is it? We're awesome. Shut up. Yeah, antineoplaston therapy, according to the Wiki page, is the name coined by Burzynski, or antineoplaston is a name coined by Burzynski for a group of peptides, peptide derivatives, and mixtures that he uses as alternative cancer treatment. The word is derived from neoplasm. Sure.
So, new plasm?
Yeah, I guess, eh? Antineoplaston therapy has been offered in the U.S. since 1984, but is not approved for general use. The compounds are not licensed as drugs, but are instead sold and administered as part of clinical trials at the Burzynski Clinic and the Burzynski Research Institute. And thus far, there's been lots of questions about his methodology and whether or not what he's doing actually does anything.
So it's the definition of bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far, until he can prove that he has a legitimate treatment, you have to assume that it's not really doing anything and it's not an acceptable alternative to a proper traditional therapy.
Right.
Now, like there's things that they call complementary alternative medicine, where maybe it helps you to stay a little healthier while you're undergoing some kind of proper treatment. The trouble I have, like there's different kinds of alternative medicine. There's things that will outright do you harm that they are peddling as an alternative to medicine. There's things like homeopathy that are only going to do you harm if you're foregoing other treatments, and they will do you financial harm, but they're not going to actually hurt you.
Well, yeah, because it's pretty much, if you're doing the traditional,
nothing.
it's doing nothing, but it gives you the warm fuzzies.
Yeah, and there's a placebo effect.
Yeah.
So it's a placebo plus you're draining your finances. And I have, good reason to resent people that prey on people that have cancer with false hopes. That is a really shady thing to do. So, I have more confidence that something will come out of cannabis research, frankly, for cancer treatments than whatever this is. But, if he's got something, put up or shut up, right?
Yeah, and that's part of the problem, because he's been going for 30 years, and it's been clinical trials, just ever getting the extension, eh?
But nothing
well, sure,
really.
But when you're doing the trials and it's your medicine and your name's on the building, that's dubious by itself. It doesn't matter if
it's not independent.
Right.
Yeah.
And the thing about alternative medicine, like Tim Minchin said, there's alternative medicine's either been proven not to work or not been proven to work. They already have a name for alternative medicine that's been proven to work. Medicine.
Yeah. But the arguable exceptions to that is something like cannabis, where it has been outlawed for or marginalized as a medicine for, political and different reasons that don't have a lot to do with medicine. So if people are using cannabis in whatever form and it's considered alternative medicine, well, there are still situations where alternative medicine becomes mainstream medicine.
Right, but like the AMA has already agreed that it has medicinal values. It is
fairly
medicine.
recently.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of something that's made its way from alternative to mainstream.
Sure.
With a whole lot of people kicking and screaming and dragging their feet the whole way. Mainly for political reasons.
Mainly.
Just like the bark of a willow tree.
Because plants are magic. I just
Plants are magic. Yeah, that's right.
We don't have somebody that's a crop scientist.
Yeah, there's no bias there at all, though. None.
Magic.
None.
They are magic. No, really.
Actually, what is your are you a plant microbiologist?
No. Definitely macro, if anything. I deal with plants on a larger level than microscopes. So.
You're not splicing the genes.
I don't have to. If I look at plants, it's not through a microscope. It's through my eyeballs.
In massive quantities.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, so I did an interview with Rob Blaskewicz from the Skepticality podcast, which I hope I'll get up by the 19th or so, before it's not relevant anymore. Hey, now. Yeah, so hopefully I'll get that up. And he's been following Burzynski for a while now.
Here's a little tangent. Am I allowed to go on a tangent?
Go
I was
ahead.
listening to stuff you didn't learn in history podcast.
Okay.
It's a really cool little history podcast. And they had a story about somebody that was running a sanitarium for people who didn't quite feel well. It's called, their last names were Hazard, and I think they operated out of Minnesota or something back like over 100 years ago. And they were doing fasting and enemas and some stuff like that. They were literally starving people to death.
Wow.
And it was basically a scam where they were getting people very weakened, in a weakened state, then having them sign over all of their finances and their control over their estates to these people, and then they would like starve them out.
Oh,
and so there's been scams and frauds and things like that that have been going on for a very long time. This is not exactly a new thing.
No.
Snake oil salesman.
Yeah, snake oil has been a thing for a long time. Jeez, eh?
But there was also another guy in northern U.S. that did fake cancer treatment for many years to people who didn't even have cancer.
Mm-hmm. That's the best people to treat for cancer. I have an echo. I just thought I should just... It made me sound really impressive, though. So
yeah. I have
because
an echo.
they're much easier to cure if they never had cancer to begin with.
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
Yeah.
Just diagnose them even though they're not ill, and
yes, if you just declare someone has cancer and then give them something and then they no longer have cancer, then you don't have to. That's much easier.
But you also want to hope for a slow recovery so that you can keep them coming. You know.
Yes.
Well, no, you just change that into
a different cancer.
Now that you're cured, you got to keep taking this so it doesn't come back.
Well, now we're talking about big pharma.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't make cures; they make patients.
Well, we have to because you know, big pharma shells. They got to keep giving us the checks, right?
not if we keep pointing out that they're keep making customers and not curing people.
Ah, yes.
We have to be pro-pharma.
No. That's where I keep screwing up.
So I got another link that I was looking at. This is from Spirit Science. One of the biggest secrets kept from the humanity, the pineal gland.
Oh, crap.
Also known as your third eye.
Is that somewhere in your G spot? Or how is it accessed?
I think it's a different spot. Yeah, I don't...
Is it prostate adjacent?
Prostate adjacent.
It's actually on top of the hypothalamus in your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If a proctologist can touch it,
it's not helpful.
Yeah. If your proctologist can touch the top of your brain.
Yeah, they got it a little too deep. Nobody try. No one have a mental picture about that. No.
I'm picturing a dude with a puppet. I can make his mouth open.
Yeah.
Your colon is clean.
And so are your sinuses.
Yeah, so when I post this link in the show notes, we'll put it through a do not link because we don't want to give Spirit Science any extra links. But according to Spirit Science, humans are bestowed with a certain part of their brain known as the pineal gland, or also known as our third eye.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. A tiny pine cone that is in charge of producing serotonin derivative melatonin. that has to deal with our hormones that affect the modulation of sleep-wake patterns, including our seasonal functions. This tiny pine cone can be found near the center of the brain, in place between the two hemispheres. The reason the higher-ups keep this information from people is so they don't find out the fullest potential that is part of us.
That's big biology.
They're hiding the pineal gland?
I guess.
The higher-ups.
It's pretty... All you have to do is look at a diagram of the brain. It's
Yeah,
right
there it
there.
is.
Yeah. I've actually seen my own.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because it has a propensity to calcify over life. So when you do a CAT scan or CT scan of the brain, it can show up as like a little white dot.
That's our cameraman
I may be able to
talking?
email it to you. I've got my CT scan.
That's
I
awesome.
can highlight that's pineal gland.
That'll be in the show notes.
Yeah, totally.
Justin's brain will be part of the show.
Justin's brain is part of the...
Part of the show notes. Proof that I have one.
Don't mention size, though. He's kind of sensitive.
Hey, it's not the size that matters.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
I find it odd that they keep talking about it like a pine cone.
But what are they saying
right?
about
Why
it?
would you want a pine cone in your brain?
What are
or
they saying
any
of
other?
the pineal gland?
Say again?
It's
I
the
said, what are
third
they
ay.
saying of it? Why are they referring to
If
the
it's
third
if
eye?
they were calling it the third eye, then they must be suggesting it's related to some kind of psychic ability or
It has the ability to give me
woo.
a horrible, horrible migraine called a cluster headache.
Oh yeah.
They think
The
that-
pineal gland is essentially the portal between the physical and the spiritual world.
Well, mine's a portal to hell. Then it opens like once every
It
couple
just
of weeks
hurts.
and puts me on bed rest.
When activated,
bullshit.
the sensation of euphoria and oneness fills the person's mind.
How do you activate a pineal gland?
Well, it says in the article that it's through yoga, meditation, and other
have to line
occult
your
practices.
shot.
Take this,
right, yes,
take this
that's right.
holistic
Someone
drill.
read the show notes.
I actually did.
He's a keener.
You are not. No.
You didn't get the memo. You do not do your homework.
No, you're
What's this
supposed
show
to leave
getting
me
to?
drifting in the breeze here by myself, like everyone else. That's
But what I found funny about the article, at the end, it goes into the sodium fluoride.
oh yeah.
This is
thing
why we cannot.
The reason we can't access this higher power of our
Oh, good.
pineal gland or whatever it's called is because there's sodium fluoride in the water.
So because
And
our
so
water
they're putting it in the water to keep people from this potential.
Well, had I known.
I would have stopped brushing my teeth a long time ago.
If I would have known, then that's how I can transverse the planes of existence.
So
awesome.
Because I have a problem with mine, I haven't had enough fluoride, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
See, that's the thing is you've had just
I've had-
enough
yeah.
to screw up that you're only going to the bad parts of transdimensional.
Yeah, transdimensional.
shifting.
Well, damn it. I guess my transmission's busted in my transdimensional
Yeah.
vessel.
Yeah.
What you need is a trans-dimensional gargle blaster. That'll fix you right up.
Yeah. I hear it's the equivalent of having one's brain smashed out with a slice of lemon.
See?
I get your reference, sir.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Douglas Adams.
Thank you.
I think it was actually a pan-dimensional gargle blaster.
It's, I don't know, pansexual? No.
Now we're not sure what our references are.
Yeah.
It was funny. Leave it alone.
Yeah. Don't overanalyze the nerd
Yeah, no.
reference. No.
All right, according to encyclopedia.com, this small structure about the size of a pea, not a pine cone, is situated approximately the center of the head. Because it's one of the few obviously unpaired structures in the brain, the 17th century French philosopher Rene Descartes, 1596 to 1650, suggested that it was the seat of the soul, mediating subjective experience, and intervening in the machinery in the brain.
That makes sense because the 1600s were the pinnacle of medical knowledge.
So it's Descartes' fault that people think this is magic.
Fuck you, Descartes.
So I'm not a doctor. I'm going to put that out there.
But
I'm not even supposed to be on the podcast. I just sat down because this piqued my interest. I hope everyone else is piqued. But it has I know of this, and I could be wrong, but it has a propensity to calcify in most normal adults over time. So I guess its usefulness is diminished
Right.
So if it's the seat of your soul slowly decays throughout the course of your life.
Okay,
Good
that
to
makes
know.
sense.
But I mean, we have to recognize that Descartes was, he didn't know any better. I mean, we didn't know
that's true.
Let's not put
much
him before
about
the horse or anything.
Yeah, well, so it's not. I wouldn't say that it's Descartes' fault that we have these conspiracy
that's true.
theorists nowadays.
Well, how can you not say that? Okay, I'm looking at this brain. Hey, I don't know what this is, so that's the soul.
But if he's just speculating on it and then people kind of run with it, then he's only partially responsible.
That's true.
And the thing is, science, when it comes up with a better explanation for something, then we accept that better explanation.
Yep.
So people can be to blame for not accepting this explanation that we have now.
Give
that's
Descartes a little bit of leeway. 300-400 years after the fact. Guess he could have been wrong.
And it's not as though the scientific method was really well evolved at that point.
Yeah.
True.
We're gonna have an intrusion here as Mike quickly takes his chair, and our nice photographer that came out. Our photographer is such a good guy that Fallout 4 came out on Tuesday. He hasn't had a chance to play it yet, and he came here instead of playing his video game.
I played for an hour.
He played for an hour.
It's great. Everyone should play it.
All right, so Mike's here.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Can sit by his mic.
Right on Mike time.
Do you have anything to say about Descartes?
Do I have anything to say about what?
Descartes.
I don't even
And
know
the
what that is.
pineal gland. We were talking about
16th century
Descartes and the
philosopher.
pineal gland.
So,
I'm not sure how broadly this topic will really appeal to our audience, but it's never stopped us before.
No, it doesn't stop us from doing much. Okay, Mike's back. Mike's here. Now we're going to jump into religious nuttery.
Perfect.
Cornerstone, this might be new to some of you. Scripture says that even our righteous deeds are as filthy rags to God. So even the good things that you do, even things like feeding the hungry and clothing the poor and taking in widows and orphans, as nice as those things are, if not done from the place of obedience to and a relationship with God, are completely worthless and disgusting to God. If you're not daily walking in a place of relationship to God, then the news that we have to bring you is that you're on your way to hell right now.
How you doing?
All right. So, Joshua Feuerstein, fat guy in a red cap, is pissed that that Starbucks cups don't have Christmas stuff on them.
We can just call him Christian Paul Blart.
Christian Paul Blart, yes.
I was thinking born again Fred Durst.
Born again. Yeah, that's all good. That's all good.
I'd comment, but I need to go get a glass
Fred
for this
Durst.
awesome rum.
Best rum in the world.
Yeah.
I have a tiny glass you can have.
Hell, since we're not profit, I can actually say that. By the lash, it's the best rum in the world. By not profit, we spend money and don't make money.
Yes, by non-profit, that means
anti-profit.
Anti-profit. There's a distinctive lack of money.
We're so bad at making money, we could be Republican. No, wait, no, they're good at making money.
Just not when they're in government.
Right.
Yeah, just not when they're in government.
Well, specifically for themselves, they're good at making money. Yeah, how can people that are like ridiculously good at being millionaires and rich be so fucking bad at running a country?
That's
a
over the
good
question.
question.
So was this in reference to his red cup?
Yeah,
Yes,
the red
this
cup
is the
thing.
red cups. These, I'm sure at this
One
point
Christian, one
everybody's, one Christian, one cup. Everybody's heard of this.
That seems to be the only guy that actually cares about this. So we'll just call
no,
it that.
I think there's other people.
He's
but
got some
the most-
followers. He's drumming up his little base of manufactured outrage, and he's a con artist. That
he's a piece of shit.
But they love the networks love having a story like this because it's seasonal. It's silly controversy that people will sit
clickbait.
there and watch. It's clickbait.
Feeds into the whole war on Christmas.
Yeah. Or people that want to mock the war on Christmas. This is fantastic fodder. But it's like how many... I get annoyed at how many other topics we could be talking about besides Starbucks cups. This is just silly.
I mean, the thing is, people like having controversy. So we all do it. I mean, it's not just Christians, not just atheists, not just, everybody loves controversy. And this is a way to perpetuate the divisive culture. And people just love biting at this. Even though everybody, like most people, except for a few very ignorant people, understand that this is not a big deal. Right. So you have a small group of people that seriously think that there's a war on something that
whose identity relies on being victimized.
Yeah.
Have you lived in the southern U.S.?
I've been there for close to them.
A very small percentage of the population of the planet, maybe. A large population of the southern U.S. think that there's an actual war on Christmas.
Donald Trump apparently also agrees with this.
His wig agrees.
He made quite the statement about at the end of his little rant against Starbucks about if I'm president, everybody's going to be saying Merry Christmas.
Yes, and if he's president, he's going to build a wall. He's going to make, he's going to negotiate with China, and he's just going to be awesome at everything.
But they totally respect the rights of the CEOs and leadership of companies to brand their products and have religious freedom, don't they?
Right.
Because I have heard that I don't know if this is true, but that the head of Starbucks is Jewish.
That's what I heard.
So do they have a problem with him being able to express or not express his
the thing is, it's, like he said, it's a manufactured outrage because they kind of went. From my understanding, is they actually went back because originally it was in 1997 when they started it. It was just a red cup, so people could doodle on it whatever the hell they wanted, and now they kind of gone back to it, and now everyone's all upset because it doesn't have winter shit on their coffee cup.
And you can predict this. I mean, this happens every single year. So this is just kind of, it comes along with the season.
My favorite was the vagina manger that Jon Stewart did one year. That he decided that there was, you'd have to look it up. He decided that that if they wanted to be outraged over women's reproductive things and outraged over war on Christmas, that they should just combine those things and decorate vaginas with mangers. That was a Jon Stewart skit.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Christmas trees, which be a little uncomfortable.
If you could decorate a vagina with an entire manger, that's no longer a vagina.
It's Republican contraception.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so cups.
Yeah, it's just once again stupid. Like
something made up by people who need to feel important.
Well, and it occurs on both sides of the fence, though, because you get guys like what's his name from Saskatoon, who got his ass in a twist because the buses said Merry
because the
Christmas.
buses said
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Frankly, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't understand that outrage. I don't understand because people that get all upset because they say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. Who gives a flying fuck? Like, really? If someone
it's
comes
so
up
commercialized that it's not even a religious holiday anymore. It doesn't matter.
No.
Half of the shit that they say is traditionally Christmas isn't. It's
pagan.
Absolutely. The Yule log, the time become fucking Christmas, December 25th. Like, read a book.
Birthday of Horus.
Read a book. Read a book. Jesus Christ.
How many different
Not
gods
just the
were
one
actually...
book.
Yeah, just not the quote-unquote good book.
How many different gods were actually born on the 25th that died, were resurrected 3 days later, that had 3 holy men and 13 disciples? Like 6 of them in a row?
There's a lot.
I don't know about the birth date, but...
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
There was a lot of them, yeah.
But at the same time, it's not about the specifics of where it comes from. because there has been a social construct around what this date means. So the actual origin of it, people don't even really care. You can point that out as much as you want. See, the Christmas tree comes from this part of the world, and all these different things. But since there is this group mentality and the social construct of what Christmas means,
and another part to argue, though, people won't give a shit about that either, is the fact that since the 40s, 50s, the commercialization of it is what has got everyone so hyper sensitive about it. Whereas before, Christmas came and went, and it was relatively somber, I think. But
it was a religious festival that was one of many other
until Coca-Cola
events.
made up
that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Santa Coke.
And I think Charles Dickens started a lot of it too, with his Christmas Carol.
Christmas. That would make sense. Yeah.
Is Santa Coke what keeps him so happy? At the North Pole?
That's how the reindeer fly.
That's what keeps them motivated.
Okay.
That's what keeps the elves keep you happy, but it keeps you motivated.
Well, that's why there's so many.
That's why he can deliver all the presents in one night.
Yeah, that's for when you want to get everything done forever.
well, that's why do you think there's so many Christmas carols that talk about snow?
That's right.
It's not because of the time of year.
Keeps all the elves working.
Yeah.
I think I just had one of those light bulb moments.
The North Pole, that's the white and red stripe, is actually just a giant straw.
Yeah. Well, it's a giant straw and a lot of white stuff.
Yeah.
There you go. Very symbolic.
It all seems obvious now.
It does, yeah. Now that we've drawn the dots.
All right, so we've solved Christmas. That's done.
Yeah, totally. Christmas is solved.
Or we've totally ruined Christmas.
Same thing.
Whatever. Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Happy
I
early
guess we're either the Grinch or Jesus.
I always actually kind of identified with Scrooge, so... All right, well, let's do some annoying commercial things.
If you like the Brainstorm podcast and want to get more of it, you can go to patreon.com/Brainstorm podcast for bonus material, early ad-free episodes, and a shout-out in the next episode. Special Brainstorm gear bonuses for different Patreon levels are available. You can get your own Brainstorm shirts, mugs, and lots more from cafepress.ca/Brainstorm podcast gear. Thanks for your support.
We are given one life, full of billions of small and large decisions. To be somebody, to change, to be kind, to give hope, to become a better person, and to leave a lasting impact on this planet. It is a decision to be made every single day while your heart is still beating. We've made our decision. Absence of Clothing, atheist and science-based apparel and merchandise, donating 50% of our profits to charity. Look good and feel good, without God. Check us out at absenceofclothing.com and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest for discount codes and other sweet swag.
Use the code BRAINSTORM at absenceofclothing.com and get 10% off.
This podcast is awesome. I love how they've used the word fuck for every part of the English language. Didn't miss one. But if you really love the pervasive use of the word fuck like I do, when you finish up here, you should head over to my podcast, Unbuckling the Bible Belt. You'll get to hear me, Sharon Bush, and my co-host, Joe Kiddick, fuck each other to death. Wait, that didn't come out right.
And we're back. Okay, so today we've got
That was cute.
Yeah, that's the Unbuckling the Bible Belt promo. They're pretty good podcast.
Watch us fuck each other to death.
Wait a sec. So for the last couple weeks we've done, or couple episodes anyway, we've done these Skepticism 101 and Atheism for Dummies type segments. Those episodes will be published eventually. So this is technically Skepticism 101 Part 3.
That we're doing first.
The Libsyn feed will have everything in order properly.
Welcome to the Brainstorm podcast.
Yes, we're ADD.
Our leader is, which
has the same effect.
Yeah. Blind leading the blind.
He only works a week and then has a whole week off. I don't. What are you looking at me like that for?
Because I'm gonna murder you.
You know you can't edit that in post.
Yeah. No, that's
so
fine.
now you can't murder him because you've just incriminated
Because I've just
yourself.
incriminated. Damn it.
Well, I'm not sure unless you can prove that it's justifiable homicide.
Yeah, like totally.
Well, if you listen to the show, it's justifiable.
A court would just have to listen to him talk. And then
Well, I was going to say, I'm sure we can find enough people to testify that, yeah, he needed a killing.
He needed to be killed.
There should be a trigger warning before everything Gumby says.
That would make it even more challenging for Dave. You have
Yeah.
to be watching our levels and watching my face. And then I would just go...
Okay, what are we supposed to be talking
so,
about?
Skepticism 101, Part 3. This is cognitive biases. What are they? Anybody?
Good question. I don't know. You'll have to explain that to me.
A cognitive bias refers to a systematic pattern of deviation from norm or rationality and judgment, whereby inferences about other people and situations may be drawn in an illogical fashion.
So basically, it's a filter.
Yeah.
It's what people think is their God filter or their whether they know they have one or not. And I think a lot of religious people know that they are employing a God filter. And I can speak from personal experience on that. I kind of knew when I was being raised as a fundamentalist Christian that I was wearing my God filter, and I didn't allow myself to really explore sources of information that weren't approved by the God filter.
Right.
So that's a way that people kind of self-limit the types of information that they input into their brains, and and are just a bit concerned about or mistrustful of other sources of information.
So then you'd be saying it's like kind of like a broad cognitive dissonance without the dissonance.
Well, yeah, kind of, because it's a like she said, a filter.
Yeah.
Where dissonance is where you hold two contradictory ideas, sort of, and the pain that results.
Right.
Or
That's why I said
cognitive
without
pain.
the dissonance part of it.
Which having these biases can cause
Right.
cognitive dissonance, which I've experienced. But I think the bias is more of just a way of choosing what types of information to have and deciding whether or not a certain position is acceptable to the community you're in or not. And then kind of acting on the basis of what isn't acceptable in your whatever kind of community. Whether that's New Agey or religious or
even,
who knows, libertarian.
Yeah, or everybody, basically.
Yeah, everybody has to some extent filters like this.
And we do this on a daily basis where we judge things not by rational standards but by our own subjective way of viewing things. So we can use an example. I can say that I have the best car because
You
I
have a
like
Mazda?
it. But it's no, I don't have a Mazda.
Well,
but
that's his filter.
Yeah, so
that's his bias.
So without logically testing the performance of the car. So I can just, because I like this specific car, this is the best car. And we do this all the time, and in religious people especially, this is my religion, this one must be true, but without evaluating by rational standards.
Exactly. Yep.
And every time you beat someone in a race, you're like, see, told you it was the best car. And there's your confirmation
There's your
bias.
confirmation. Yeah, that's
and
right.
which hasn't happened yet. I have a pretty shitty car.
So you're saying you don't actually have the best
No.
car.
I, as an example, hypothetically, let's say if I had the best car.
If you believed that,
Yeah,
but
if I
you
believed.
don't,
Yeah.
clearly.
I don't even believe it now.
Can't even lie to yourself enough to believe
Yeah.
it.
So what do I got? I got biases arise from various processes that are sometimes difficult to distinguish. These include information processing shortcuts, also known as heuristics, mental noise, which I think needs further examining. The brain's limited information processing capacity, emotional or moral motivations, and social influence. So the only one I don't really know anything about there is mental noise.
There's also another one.
I'm waiting for Gumby to say, your mental noise.
One is, and I can't remember what it's called, but when you learn something when you're young, let's say, and you take it to be fact because you've been taught that it's fact. And then all of your biases are based upon that, even though that's wrong. So that's your base false bias. And you believe you build an entire belief structure based on that one thing. So let's say, for example, you have the best car, right? Because your grandpa said it was the best car. So
Because
your
grandpa
entire
said the
belief structure-
Chryslers are the best.
Yeah, when you were a kid. So you build your entire belief structure based on that. And so you argue against it even though you're presented with all this knowledge showing, no, your car is a piece of shit because of this. Yeah. And it's too painful to regressively remove that bias because it's been part of you since you were little. And that's another really big thing in that. It's stuff that gets ingrained so much that subconsciously you defend it and make excuses or reason everything out based on that.
And cognitive biases are not necessarily always bad. I mean, it's basically, I would say the shortest form to summarize it is a subjective social reality of where we create kind of our own reality based on what we've been taught as children and what we perceive to be true.
Culturally construct your reality.
Yeah.
Neurologically, they're probably survivable. That's why we have them.
Yeah, that's right. Like it speeds our processing. Basically, we skip steps so that we can achieve a conclusion faster that is more useful. It's practical. We've got a few examples off of the Wiki page. We already mentioned confirmation bias. The fundamental attribution error, also known as the correspondence bias, is the tendency to overemphasize personality-based explanations for behaviors. At the same time, individuals underemphasize the role and power of situational influences on the same behavior. So I suppose that sounds like those lazy welfare bums.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a way of it's the background for discriminating against people on the basis of broad characterizations instead of knowing what situation are those people in.
They must be poor because they don't work hard, not because of the situation they started in. Sounds like a good one. The self-serving bias. The tendency to claim more responsibility for successes than failures. May also manifest itself as a tendency for people to evaluate ambiguous information in a way beneficial to their interests.
Well, there's some quote about they don't expect people to, what is it? Agree with something which would go against their career, basically. Like if their job, their paycheck relies upon a certain position, then don't be surprised if they are.
I think Al Gore uses that one in Inconvenient Truth.
Yeah, so I'm doing a very bad job of paraphrasing this, but I think that fits well into that.
Yeah.
That if your paycheck relies, and this is true of a lot of people in the religion profession, if your paycheck relies on you propagating an idea or defending an idea, then no, of course you're not going to change your mind.
Well, that's a summary of all politics right there.
Yeah.
Right, Yeah.
Yeah. How many politicians get up and say, I know I'm full of shit, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to imagine that people like Ben Carson do every day.
But I doubt they do.
No. I know I'm full of shit, but the pyramids.
No, the scary part is he believes his own bullshit.
I don't know if it's hard to tell. That's Poe's law, right?
Yeah.
You can't tell.
I'm pretty sure he's
really
not
good con
satire.
artist.
But the thing is, I personally know some Seventh-day Adventists and who truly believe something like along the same lines as the pyramids. I think that he actually believes it.
He probably does, because why else would he have that picture in his house? Like, that's creepy.
Yeah, because I know people, personally know people who legitimately believed that Obama and the Pope combined were the Antichrist,
Mhm.
like, and who were totally convinced of it. When I heard that, I couldn't help but feel pity, because
Wait, so both of them were like independently, or when their powers combined?
No, they were both.
No, it's like one is the ghost, the other's the Holy Spirit, or whatever,
Well,
right?
I was thinking more along the
jointly.
lines of a firestorm kind of
Yeah.
thing. They get, clutch hands.
They hold hands.
Obama's the shadow. He's like Peter Pan's shadow.
Yeah,
like that.
And they went as far as to say that before Obama's presidency would be over, it would be illegal to have church on Sunday because the Seventh-day Adventists have Saturday services. So they would actually make it illegal to
I
have
did
church
hear
on Sunday.
something about that,
It was this
actually.
big thing. The books are written about this bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. There was another podcast I was listening to where the hosts were former Seventh-day Adventists. And they was talking about that, like, this is a thing where that's the first step. Like, church is illegal on Saturday. And then forced church on Sundays. Like, there's no opting out. Everybody has to go on Sunday.
Well, it's the other way around.
Oh, is it the other way
They
around?
have it on Saturday, but to make it illegal on Sunday. So all the Christian churches that have church on Sunday would have to have it on Saturday instead of Sunday, because Sunday is the day of the devil because of some pagan religion. Yeah. So Saturday is God's day.
I thought it was on the seventh day he rested. That's the whole.
Yeah, that's the whole. But
I thought
the
it was
seventh day is
Saturn's day. I mean, it's named after Saturn. The dude.
I don't think it is. I think the Christians are right.
The Christians are never right.
You were looking at me and you realized that I thought you were serious.
Because we don't know you that well.
Well played.
Well played, sir. Well played. So a couple more examples of bias. The belief bias. When one's evaluation of logical strength of an argument is based on their belief in the truth or falsity of the conclusion.
I've heard that one before. I know what I believe, so...
So everything has to be backed up from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That just sounds like a summary of how the brain works.
Right.
Like, sorry, but you take what you like and then you just rationalize it.
That's why God
no one
always
reasons
believes
from
the same
premises
things
to
you
conclusions.
do.
Right.
And it is, going back to what you said earlier, Cory, that it's a way of bypassing the tedious process of investigating every single thing. So, even something as simple as if we see a new type of vegetable in the supermarket and just assuming that, oh, this must be good as well. This must be good for me because it's the vegetable. So we don't actually investigate if the vegetable is good for me. We just assume and buy it and eat it because it's in the vegetable aisle of the supermarket.
I never assume vegetables are good for me.
Oh, am I the only one? Damn it!
Probably.
They're all poisonous. They're all poisonous.
They're all poisonous.
Especially
we only
parsnips.
eat them because people make us eat them.
Yeah, sorry, man. The rest of us don't have cognitive biases.
Damn it. I should have used the steak metaphor.
And if it's a new vegetable, that means it's GMO'd, which means it's also evil.
Oh, yeah, right.
Inherent evil.
I don't want cancer.
No.
Yeah.
Framing. Using a too narrow approach and description of the situation or issue.
Like GMO.
Or
Or religion.
religion.
So, well, one good example would be like if you're talking about religion and they're like, well, that's not what I believe. I believe this and this and this. And then you explain to them, well, that's, this is why that doesn't make any sense. Well, that's, and they'll move the goal post a little bit.
Right.
Or those aren't real Christians and these people aren't real Christians. And so they'll frame things so to, try to fit through the eye of the camel in order to have their, not have their conclusions destroyed.
That works.
There you go. That's a good religious reference. That's, I went to Sunday school for a lot of years for that.
To finally be able to pull that nugget out. Yeah. All that time was well worth it.
It was well spent.
Yeah. So then the last example that we've got on this one is hindsight bias. Sometimes called the I knew it all along effect, is the inclination to see past events as being predictable. Predictable?
Not productable?
No, not predictable.
Can we auto-tune his pronunciation?
I do know how to read, I swear to God.
Put a verbal autocorrect on the mics.
Yeah, that's right.
That might end badly, though.
This is why I sound
You swear
smarter.
to what?
Allah. Yeah.
Okay, what are we supposed to be talking about?
Hindsight bias.
Oh, okay.
It was totally obvious that Cory was going to pronounce everything wrong. I knew it. I fucking knew it, man.
But
he always does.
He always does.
But
that's
really,
just induction at this point.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a previous pattern, it's not really the same thing.
No, then it's induction.
Yeah.
Or it's totally obvious that whatever the good thing that just happened in my life was obviously a blessing from God, because it turned out well instead of turning out horribly. And if it had turned out horribly, then of course that would have been not
because
God's
of Satan.
fault. That would have been not God's fault.
But that's one of the most frustrating things that people can say to me. You should have done this.
Right.
Because at that point it is not productive in any way. Because you should have done something as if they would have known better.
Is it kind of like how, what is it they're calling it, all the Republican presidential nominees, about how the kind of like hindsight heroes, how if they would have been president during 9/11, this would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't, Jeb had to do a bunch of backpedaling on that, didn't he?
Jeb.
Jeb, exclamation
He can
point.
fix it.
A lot of times I wish we were actually a really big multinational, really well-known podcast, so I can say shit like, fuck you, Jeb. With a chance of him
and it might actually have
hearing
somebody hearing it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other people saying "fuck you, Jeff." Look at his approval rating.
Yeah,
we kind of managed to do the fuck Harper successfully, didn't we?
We did that.
We did that.
Yeah, right.
There's the hindsight bias right there.
You're welcome, Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome, Eastern Canada. Out west, they don't really appreciate it.
Fuck you, Western Canada.
But in hindsight, they'll realize that it was the best move.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
like in a couple of years, they'll say, we would have done the same. We would have done the same.
Whatever the current government does that's good, they'll attribute it to the previous conservative government.
Yeah, I was going to say, welcome to Western Canada. They don't change their mind at all.
I can't wait to see them attribute the legalization of weed to the previous government.
And all the taxes.
I don't see how that's going to work.
The only way that'll work is when the farmers start planting the weed crops.
Yeah.
That's the only way that'll work.
I'm looking forward to this situation.
You know what? Farming will go from big business and it'll be a lot more independent farming.
There's already quite a few.
Like weekend farmers. I don't actually own this land. I'm just growing some weed.
Hobby farming will be a thing again.
Yeah.
Gentlemen farmers.
Man.
Gardening will all of a sudden be cool again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I'm only making
window box gardening.
I'm only making $10,000 per acre.
Hey, Cory has nothing to say.
Yeah, no, that's it for we got to move on to Atheism for Dummies. The segment name, so because somebody already used Atheism 101. So this
haven't we already been on that? Like half of what we're talking about.
We were using good atheist examples.
Yeah. So this time around, I wanted to talk just a little bit about religious apologetics. Like what is what are they? What is that kind of?
I actually went to a little Campus Crusade for Christ apologetics
Is that right?
workshop once, which struck me as nonsense even while I was in the middle of being a Christian, and I didn't really keep it up.
It must be tough to be a apologist because it's.
Is that when you feel guilty for masturbating, so you say, "I'm sorry, baby Jesus"? Is that...
No. I thought you'd be apologizing for all the dead kittens. So wasn't that how that works? Every time we masturbate, Jesus has to kill a kitten. Is that how that works?
And we're down to 0.
I always thought that it made the angels cry.
Well, killing all those kittens would make the angels cry.
That's true.
There is some logic to this. We need to go deeper.
So let's not.
I agree. What
are we supposed to be talking about here?
So atheism is about masturbation and egg kittens.
That's as
what
deep
Christians
as we want to
think.
go on that subject.
That is what Christians think.
Apologetics is the discipline of defending a position, often religious, through the systematic use of information. Early Christian writers who defended their faith against critics and recommended their faith to outsiders were called apologists. Nowadays, it's usually through debates. Apologists debate people of other faiths or people of no faith in an attempt to convince people that theirs is the correct faith. And quite often they do a rather shitty job of it, in my opinion.
Although sometimes I think the term apologist, religious apologist, sometimes gets thrown out as a, well, fuck him, he's just an apologist, instead of really listening to what they're saying, but somewhat.
Well, I think that's true in not religious settings because people would say that, I think, on other subjects, but it's still seen as very legitimate within Christian circles to be an apologist. That's a very, you're like, you can be an apologist or an evangelist or a number of other sort of professional careers as a mega church pastor. But if you're an apologist, there's way good money in selling books on all that.
So. Oh, yes, yeah.
I always kind of thought of apologists as the guys who have to figure out what's wrong with what they believe and then justify why that isn't wrong.
They're trying to find the fairly obvious holes.
Sounds
and then
like William
build a
Lane Craig.
fabric of. They basically build a fabric of confusion over the holes in their narrative, in order to try to, just frustrate people so that they won't be able to see the holes.
Yeah.
I like that. They build a fabric of confusion over the holes in what they believe.
Yeah.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's completely accurate.
Because if you try to follow what these guys are saying, like, it's not like I'm a complete dummy, but like I have a cousin that basically does this stuff.
Sometimes, yeah,
this is a perfect description of Deepak Chopra.
Yeah,
the mental gymnastics. Yeah, with some of them. Yeah.
Like there's no summing it up in they'll have these, prove step 1 this, step 2 this, step 3 this, step 4 that, but when you actually look at those things, they have to have like a 300-page book in order to back all of that up and try to get out of these very obvious problems of the problem of suffering or the problem of that your religion's based on the a whole lot of very implausible things and very shoddy evidence.
Yeah, like so quite often they're quite logical arguments. they're very logically valid, one would say, I guess.
Formally validate.
Formally valid.
They're very formal arguments. And I, I've gotten into discussions with people or, the internet on these things, and they're very frustrated that I'm not following the little formula where as long as they can find a situation where God would be justified for whatever, killing a baby, then all the killing of babies is justified. As long as we can kill a Hitler baby, then, all the other baby killings is A-okay. Because probably all those babies that died in the flood were going to be Hitler anyway.
Probably.
But apologetics has somewhat of a glass ceiling. Like if you look at it, they can defend everything up to a point. So on the surface, it looks valid and convincing arguments, a lot of them. So for the passerby who just gets a couple of minutes of apologetics, is easily convinced because it sounds nice on the outside, but when you look into it, there's up to a certain limit, and beyond that, they just can't defend.
It's a facade.
Mm-hmm. Quite often, if you don't grant one of their premises, just inherently, then they can't follow through with their argument.
This just makes me think every time I see someone talking about Paley's watch or something, right? The watchmaker argument. I think, really? So that's as much thought as you've put into this? And that's it? Okay, now I know. Now I know where you are.
Yeah, because, in my previous degree, I was studying theology and religious studies, and I took a class on apologetics. And it was actually that kind of drives you over the edge, because I was trying to create this web to fix all the holes. But when you reach that ceiling and you find that,
you have to see the holes and understand them in order to try to patch them.
Yeah, but you can't go beyond that. You find I cannot answer things beyond this. Right. And then the whole thing just kind of crumbles, because if I can't keep answering more of the questions, then all the ones that I already answered, which is not good. Which is not good for a podcast.
Yeah, you can't
answered
use
air quotes.
Yeah.
You just kind of fail, because then if I can't answer anymore, then I probably didn't answer those either.
Yeah, I think over some time we might start tackling more specific, different kind apologetic arguments and whatnot. But for now, I think that's good enough. We can take a music break. We have Saved by Shelley Siegel from the Atheist album. Fuck You by Bad Religion.
Sweet.
Awesome too.
And
can we listen to that one twice?
A Beautiful Indifference by Rise Against.
Good tune.
So we'll have about 10 minutes.
And now we'll have more.
Fuck you, love you and road, a man is told. say that I need to be saved. Say with me, the devil got his way. I want to know how when you are praying, when you are doomsdaying, how you think you know that someone is listening to what you are saying. So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which our moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder when we'll be rid of your life. Say I need to hear the truth. The sales pitch of eternal life and eternal youth. All these blessings you are bestowing upon the one you say is all-knowing. Or are they really deserved if you sending me where you say I am going? So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder what will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your And so you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder what will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
Okay, so that was our break. The links to the iTunes for all those should be in the show notes. As for Shelley Siegel, you can also go to her website, shelleysiegel.com. Check out her stuff. She's pretty cool. Today's main topic apparently is PC language and censorship.
Apparently.
I was trying to I haven't come down anywhere on this topic, so I was trying to
This is actually how the conversation went.
evaluate more.
Cory says, I haven't formed an opinion yet. I'm like, oh, so you don't want to discuss it because you're not biased yet. Okay.
Well, but that's the kind of thing that you should have more information before you start talking about it.
That's how you get more information.
Not when I talk to you.
Not good information.
Gumby is not a wellspring of information.
Opinions, bullshit. Yes, but
all information.
I guess it technically counts as information.
Faulty.
Yeah, so PC language and censorship. What do we think?
I personally think PC is just one of the worst things to come around. Because it just creates this whole idea of if you just change the language a little bit, although really the whole thing is context, but this word is now bad. Now we got to change it to something else, and it just gets stupid.
Meaning, the words don't matter. The meaning matters, and the context matters.
Yeah.
But if people are like, "Oh, this is PC bullshit," well, like when you're talking about Mizzou and the protests that are going on at the University of Missouri, where people are being harassed. Students are being harassed. Black students are being harassed on a regular basis. But then you have all these media jockeys going around saying, "Oh, it's just they're being too sensitive," and well, if you're being harassed in the place that you're trying to learn, and you feel like you're in a hostile environment, you're at a school that was built by slaves, you're in an administration that completely overlooks it and doesn't give a fuck, then under those situations, it's like if you were in a work environment where people were going around calling you faggot, is it PC to say, no, you're not allowed to say that? So I think you do need to create environments that are, I know the safe space thing is getting mocked a lot, and there's reasons for that.
Because there's a lot of it that gets overused. It gets
you can take
run
that
to the
too
ground.
far, to where it's like, oh, I need a trigger warning for everything. But if there's situations where people are saying, oh, this is just PC bullshit, like that, where they're denying that that words are being used to intimidate, to threaten people, to put them in their place.
The problem isn't the words.
Off-colored joke.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not the words, it's the context and the threat of it that they need to recognize that this is a hostile situation, and that it behooves the work environment or the university environment to try to create an environment where you can't discuss ideas, but where people are not feeling under siege.
Well, I actually I wrote some stuff up, and I actually pulled a column that I think Cory, I sent him the link for the show notes.
Yes, I did read that, actually.
Yeah, but anyway, so first off, using PC language can have its place. If you're representing a government or organization that is known for being PC, then use PC language, or don't. Of course, your bosses might decide to fire you if you don't. But that being said, the thing about language, it's the most powerful thing we've ever created. Man's never accomplished anything to equal the power of the ability to cogently share ideas. We haven't accomplished anything worth noting without the use of language. It's far more than just the ability to share ideas. It's a medium that gives us the ability to have ideas. We think in language. We exist beyond the instinctive creatures that we are because of and through language. Why would you want to limit that? Because you get offended? The thing about being offended, nobody is offending you. Nobody can actually offend you. Being offended is an act of the self. It's a choice. People choose to be offended. If a word offends you, maybe look at why it offends you. Deal with it and move past it. And the big thing is the thing about censorship. Who decides who gets to control and moderate it? Controlling the words we use also controls what and how we think. Banning words is the scariest start to a slippery slope that I can think of. Now, I totally agree with what Lana said about the harassment and stuff, but it's not the words. You can't ban words or thinking of a single word. If you're in an environment that's hostile against you, it's not the language being used, it's the people. And that's where this other story, why I picked this, it's actually from babycenter.blog. It's mom stories. I just did a Google search for some. I don't actually have mom stories saved. It's not it's not a thing. Anyway, and this would really bother my wife because she hates this word, but it's titled "Why I Won't Ban the Word Retard."
Oh yeah.
All right,
I think the best thing in that whole thing is when she says, "Look, ask yourself if you want to ban the word retard, is that going to help people? Ask yourself, how is that going to help disabled people?"
Yeah, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but
that's my favorite part.
There's one part. There's the campaign that was launched. Well, here, I'll read the whole thing. It's really short. So today in her post, would you call my child a retard? And for people listening for the first time, since we actually have some listeners, I have a son that's autistic. So he would have fallen 5 years ago or 10 years ago into the category of being retarded. Anyway.
Shouldn't have vaccinated then.
I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I got vaccinated, so he had to be retarded anyway because I was vaccinated.
Oh, right. That's how it works.
Yeah. And I injected some marijuana once, just one marijuana. But anyway, today in her post, would you call my child a retard? Ellen Seidman, mother to a son with cerebral palsy, and author of the blog Love the Max, said, as I write this, close to 250,000 people have signed a pledge against the word retard. A kajillion more don't get what's so wrong. This is back from March 2012. I'm one of those people. Seidman was writing in support of the Special Olympics campaign, Our Word, Spread the Word to End the Word. Even though I admire her relentless campaigning of her son and those like him, I even wrote on her blog myself, I can't agree with her here or the campaign. I'm not in the business of banning words. If you believe in freedom of speech, you can't choose to believe only when people say what you want to hear. So you can't have freedom of speech as long as it's the words that you agree with. Seidman doesn't think the campaign is about censorship. Ultimately, it's just about a word. It's not about a word. It's about respect. It's about getting people to consider kids and adults with cognitive impairment equal members of society. It's not about censorship either. It's about starting a conversation on how people can better treat Max and others like him. Now, as the mother of a disabled little girl, this isn't me. I get very tired of empty platitudes.
Gumby's not a mother of a little girl.
Yeah. Despite the good intentions and enthusiasm of the campaign, I can't help but feel that this is exactly what this is on a major scale. The populist wave of anti-retard tweets and posts and retweets disturbs me profoundly. There's a segment of the population that feel better about themselves when they attach themselves to campaigns like this.
Yep.
And it's not a criticism of her or the work to improve the lives of disabled kids, but ask yourself, what will this accomplish? How will it improve the lives of disabled people? Requesting people remove a word from their vocabulary does not erase its vile behavior. It won't stop hate crimes against disabled people or parents from abandoning their disabled kids. Asking people to not use retard means that they can pat themselves on the back and go on acting like complete jerks, if that's what they are. It rewards people for doing nothing. And it goes on from that, but basically the whole idea of that is
slacktivism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Words mean nothing. It's banning a word isn't going to stop people from being cunts. People are cunts.
But what about the idea that we should be sensitive to people who are offended? Like a person who is mentally disabled feels like they're attacked when you use the word retard as a pejorative. So what do we do in that instance? Should we not respect that person's feelings, or do we just say fuck them?
Personally, if someone with Downs is like next to me, then I won't call Ben Carson a retard. Otherwise, I have no problem with saying that.
But the thing is also using words as pejoratives. I mean, if one word is banned, another one will be used. If the person has the intention of putting somebody down, another word will be used.
Meaning is use.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what word you use,
because there's two different meanings to a word. I mean, you can use. I can say. You know, if I say it, the tone depends on. You know, makes the meaning of the word. If I say a swear word in a very mild tone, it has a very different effect from when I say it out of anger. So people will still use these same attitudes just with different words.
Yeah. When we say OP is a faggot, we're not saying that OP is homosexual. I don't know if you read it at all. Does anyone read it here?
All the time.
No.
All right. It costs me
so
money.
One guy understands the reference, OP is a faggot. We don't mean OP is homosexual.
OP is original post.
I got into a discussion with somebody.
OP is an asshole. basically.
There was a thread discussing whether or not religion was a mental illness. And I said, well, when I talk about fundamentalists, I call them crazy, but I don't mean that they're mentally ill. I mean that they're crazy. Like, I don't have another way to describe that. But mentally ill people, like, I mean, I have a brother and a mother who are schizophrenic. Mental illness is a thing that I've dealt with in my life. and I don't actually refer to them as crazy. I refer to them as delusional or schizophrenic is what you generally say. But
I think the problem is that we have become a bit of a culture of professional victims. And I think that's where some of this PC stuff comes from, is that I think there is an element of professional victimhood. You know, we were talking about being offended, and this word offends me. That shirt offends me. You know, and it's like, you have to change it because you offended me. Well,
right, the bad religion shirt that has to get turned inside out.
Yeah, because it has the circle across the cross or whatever.
The mentally disabled or otherly abled or whatever you want to use.
Whatever the
differently able.
It's hard to keep track of what the terminology is.
The thing with the differently abled or the mentally handicapped is they're the ones that defend themselves against this kind of attack. But again, it doesn't matter what words you use. If I want to use any kind of word, I can call anybody stupid. Or do I have to stop calling people stupid if they're stupid?
Yeah, then maybe if they're offended by it.
Yeah,
ban the word stupid.
Except for people that have mental issues, mental deficiencies, or whatever, and a whole bunch of that. What I just said would be offensive to some people.
Right.
There's too many different groups to find different words for the same thing offensive. But if I called Mike a fucking faggot for wearing that shirt, I'd be wrong. But I'm not saying he's gay. I'm saying he's a douchebag.
No. Well, but there might be someone that takes offense to you using the word faggot.
See, but you're also
too bad.
Douchebag could also be offensive.
Yeah. Although, you know what? I don't think, is there a support group for douchebags?
Oh, I'm sure they're called MRAs.
Right.
I thought it was any of the bro clubs.
Bro clubs. Yeah.
Yeah, but have they started the hashtag, stop douchebag? Stop using the word
Not
douchebag?
that I've seen, no.
See, but the nice thing about douchebags is it's not something that most people would be finding offensive because no one actually has a douchebag as part of their person.
Well,
it's an inanimate object.
Literal douchebags don't have feelings. That's the thing.
If I turn the mic,
right.
If I turn the mic and call him a fucking cunt, I'm trying to offend him. I'm trying to piss him off because I think he's being a cunt.
He knows I won't tackle him and beat the shit out of him because I have a blood disorder. And I'll probably bleed to death and not him.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'd be thinking. I can insult you. You can't do anything.
At the same time, we must look back and how far we've come. As just the fact that we're talking about this issue means that we've become more sensitive to everybody's feelings, and that sounds,
seems like a good thing.
Yeah, it seems like it is a good thing that we have become more sensitive towards people's feelings, and also which is like an equal rights thing, where
especially for marginalized groups.
Yeah, and this is just kind of an overall example of how just the fact that it is raising so much discussion means that people are thinking about this. Now, I don't think banning words is necessary, but I mean, I think this is a positive thing that we're talking about. How do we refer to other people? And so, in a couple of decades, this will probably not be necessary because we will treat our.
I don't know. I think
it's the opposite.
There will always be pejoratives, though.
I think so, and I also think there is a point where it's getting a little ridiculous. Like, I mean, there's some stuff where it's, they get on their high horse for almost anything, and it's like, really?
Well, and a lot of them will say, like, if I call you a faggot, that's a hate crime, and it's illegal. That's not true.
No,
it isn't. But I actually take the exact opposite side of that table, because you think that it's showing that we're being more sensitive to people. But I think the fact that all these people are starting to come forward and be offended means that they're being more sensitive, not us.
Yeah, but if they speak up and say, that actually bothers me, and everybody's like, oh, I didn't know that actually bothered you if I called, people faggots, and there's somebody who's like gay saying, look, could you just find some other word to use, because that's really, that is bothering me. If nobody realizes that is something that's bothering people are actually speaking up and saying, look, it's kind of a douchebag maneuver to be doing this around people that are going to be, are already feeling marginalized. So just be aware of that.
And there was also a time when things, when black people were just assumed, you just categorize them in a certain way, and nobody spoke up about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you sure you should be using black, not African American or African Jamaican?
No, I mean,
or whatever.
Black is the PC way to say it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because
has it come back to that?
Yeah.
Because not everybody's from Africa.
But it doesn't really. I don't think that.
Well, I know at one point it was the other way around, because
And I saw what was going on in your head there. I heard the gears grinding.
Yeah, we're not always up to date on these things, but carry on.
The gerbil does turn just very, very slowly.
But just the fact that that is now an issue means that we're realizing that, maybe we have been doing something wrong, and yes, there's a lot of people who take it way too far in certain instances, but at the same time we have to realize that it is in a way progress, but there needs to be a balance to it.
Right.
I mean, I was thinking about this, like, with Halloween relatively recently passed. Like, there was some protests at the different Halloween stores because of some of the costumes, like the Indian princess costume.
Right. Yep.
Whereas
all the First Nations
cultural appropriation costumes.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I'm the Chinese girl or I'm the Indian girl.
Yeah, like, I mean, I kind of see where they're coming from, but the other side of it, I'm just like going. To me, that gets a little ridiculous because, I mean, if you're going to do that, then, okay, the Viking costumes are insensitive to people of Scandinavian descent. Does that mean you have to prove you're Irish to be able to go to St. Patrick's Day things? Like, I mean, I don't know.
It depends. I think it depends on the context and how you're doing it. Because there was some of these, like, frat parties where they'd have, like, everybody dress up black. And it's like a white fraternity where everybody's having a black party.
I mean, that's
and
like
it's
totally
really poor taste.
That's like, that's truly poor taste.
Our one friend posted a picture of a girl dressed in First Nations type attire.
Oh yeah,
she was dressed
with a
bullet hole
with
in
a
the middle
bullet
of
hole
her
in
head.
there. Yeah. Like, that's clearly fucking.
Yeah, that's
pretty
clearly
crossing
fucking
the line.
Yeah.
And since we can't prosecute somebody,
right,
for their intentions. I mean, we can't say, see, that guy dressed in a certain way and he's doing it with bad intentions. So therefore, you kind of have to take it to one step further in banning certain things because you can't judge them on intentions.
I mean, I just look at it and just kind of roll my eyes a little bit, but
you can't judge them on intentions alone. I mean, mens rea is a part of the legal system, right? That's the criminal intent.
Yeah.
So that does matter, but you can't do it on that alone.
But it's kind of a murky subject. Like,
intentions aren't public.
Yeah,
they're private.
So. Nobody has any right to your inner thoughts. I could come in here with
nobody has any access to them, let alone right.
I mean, that's right. Let's face facts. I mean, how many different podcasts have some of the shit we've said would have offended people?
Well, of course,
every one I've been on. Yes. Every time I've been on, I've offended somebody.
Every time Gumby opens his mouth.
Don't care. You don't have to listen.
Yeah.
Don't listen to
Please
him.
listen.
Please
Yeah.
listen.
You don't have to, but please do.
But that's what I mean when
Shut
we're
up.
talking about PC and offending people. Is like it's going to happen. Like,
But these stories, these like the ones with the frat boys, what happened?
I'm not sure. I haven't
They
heard that
get
one.
a little bit of bad press or some kind of press. They
The
get
frat
attention.
got kicked out of the university. The frat got
Did they?
dissolved.
But how
from that
many
school.
of them are actually doing this?
Well, it doesn't matter. The ones that are public, the ones that people know about and complain about, something gets done to fix
Well,
it.
I think it
don't
depends
know.
because
I'm
I'm just saying, a
apparently
lot of times situations will fix themselves. If you're
Sometimes.
a prick to everybody, somebody's eventually going to kick the shit out of you.
yeah,
Right?
That's true. Sometimes though,
I don't know if
And
that's
so how
not
many-
forget Gumby.
Not
Yeah.
me.
It depends how many prick
Sort of
friends
counts
you have.
against your point,
that's
doesn't
right.
it?
Yeah,
Eventually, I said.
Oh, I see.
it could still happen. No, like wasn't there a situation at Yale or something where I don't know, it's a whole system, a whole culture of ignoring the racism that's underlying the entire school.
Yeah, there's been some like people trying to talk about the racism, and then they've been trying to discourage people in that already kind of fraught situation from being like, we're going to have we're going to all dress up black and put cotton balls all over ourselves. Or, like there was at Mizzou, they had the Missouri State University, they had the Black Student Union, something or other. It was covered in cotton balls. Like,
Right.
Which somebody thought was a really, funny prank. But if that was not in a situation where people were already feeling under siege, maybe that would be a somewhat not PC funny prank that some people might find funny.
I guess the
But
problem is it
not
all-
in that situation.
It all really all depends on context and
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there is
And
a
who gets to be the judge, though?
Yeah, that's the problem. I think there is a core group of people that are just instantly the professional victims. I'm offended for this, and this, and then real issues get
It
swept
takes
under.
it takes the integrity and the strength away from the actual people that are offended,
Yeah.
that have no power. At the same time, those are all systemic issues.
Yeah.
In their own jurisdictions, if you will. But
And and then you throw in the SJWs, and it just gets even more fucking murky, crazy, stupid.
Yeah.
SJW,
Yeah.
Saskatchewan Junior Wiggers.
Dave, you left his mic on. What were you thinking?
Oh shit!
Social justice
Those are
warriors.
I know what they are. I'm just being facetious.
You're just being
I don't know
an
if you know
ass.
what that
Being mean.
means.
Being an
It
ass.
doesn't mean being an ass.
Nobody was. Not the dictionary definition, but he was being an ass.
I guess to Leonel's point, I was watching a episode of How I Met Your Mother or whatever, and there was a couple who was constantly having sex above Ted's apartment, and he went up to confront them, and it was an elderly couple, and so he's telling the rest of the group about this encounter, and he said, so I didn't have the heart to tell them to stop. I just nodded politely at some racist comments and went along my way. And I wonder if in the future, because we're getting more sensitive to the way people feel, are our children or their children just going to nod politely at us saying things like retard or crazy, or like, are they just going to go, okay, you don't know any better, you're just a different generation?
Yeah.
See, our scope is so narrow because we have such short lives compared to the span of humanity. But humans in our present form, we've been around for hundreds of thousands of years, right? And
couple 100,000.
Ish. That's why I pluralized it.
You just offended the creationists.
Good.
and as far as we know, we're
fundamentalists. Sorry.
societies and fairly advanced societies where there's been, buildings and large groups of people living together for at least 7,000 or 8,000 years. And, well, at least, right? That we've actually discovered decent size. I'm talking places where there's at least 10,000, 15,000 people in one center. Well, longer than that, I guess. Yeah, you go back 10, 15,000 years easy.
Chinese, the Chinese culture has been around for a long time.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's always been pejoratives. There's always been people being offended and insulted. If we haven't solved it in 15,000 years, it's just something that constantly changes and evolves. It's part of the human condition, I think, to a lot of people feel better about themselves by belittling other people. That's not something that's going to change.
We always seem to define ourselves against the other. Like, this is what we are, and they are something different.
Well, I would disagree with that somewhat. I mean, if we look through history, we as a human species, though we are far from perfect, we have constantly bettered ourselves.
Right.
And I would recommend a book, if I may, like A.C. Grayling's Angels of Our Better Nature. It's like 1,000 and some page book, and he goes in depth.
Is that Grayling or is that
A.C.
Pinker? Or is that Pinker?
It might be Pinker. But Angels of Our Better Nature. But so he goes in depth through history, pointing out things that once were normal, that this is just what humans did, and how we now can't imagine somebody justifying ever doing that. So I think there will come a time where we will look back on this point in time and say, how could we not see this? How could we not see that the solution was simple? Because if we look back only in this last century, there are so many major steps that we've made in society that we now never consider that we should segregate buses, that we should and things like that. I mean, we will never be perfect. We will always have people who are assholes and who want to belittle somebody. But I think that we will become better
as a society.
Yeah.
If there's a collective will to do it.
Well, that is right on topic, though. I mean, ethics evolve over time, right? But they evolve through us fighting for what we value. And that's what people are doing when they're saying no one should use retard. They're fighting for their values.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that infanticide was commonplace and reasonably somewhat acceptable, depending on your local culture. But in a lot of the world, it was. And, in 100 years, 200 years, we've arrived at a place where that's generally criminal activity. So, to either put a infant out in a freezing cold something, or just neglect them or actively kill them, this is something that's no longer acceptable. So ethics do change over time, and this is what people are trying to prompt a change in, is what we consider acceptable and not. And in general, it's good. There's dumb things where we must use certain pronouns, or we must use,
or lack thereof.
Or
like the Marxist feminists. Language is inherently masculine.
Yeah,
it's inherently misogynist.
If you're a
that's wrong.
There's definitely some silliness that can go on, but I think in general the intent is that we build a more empathetic way of talking, because I'm pretty good at coming up with pejoratives that aren't actually like offensive in that way, but I can string together a whole bunch of really disgusting words involving disgusting things, and it's fun. But I can do it in a way that is, I guess you would consider it politically correct while being terrifically offensive. It's a skill.
But the
that's
important
a skill I don't actually think
that's
I
just
possess.
it. The important thing isn't the word; it's the being offended.
Good.
No, they can be offended all they want, but
because
there'll be the difference of
those are currently socially acceptable words. If you start using them as pejoratives and I get offended, then I'm going to want you to stop using those words.
No,
me.
but see, I can call somebody a a pustulant taint, and they can choose to be offended,
I'm
at
offended by
that.
the word taint.
You don't get to decide what I'm offended by.
I don't care if you're offended.
Exactly. Exactly.
But so
if you're offended, fuck you.
Yeah. So, but this isn't something where you're picking on a group that's already marginalized.
Right.
Like there's at least half the world that has one. So if you call somebody a taint, then it's like
The thing is, I'm not
you're
marginalized. Let's say you were mentally handicapped or physically handicapped,
Mhm.
both. Right? If I called you any of the pejoratives that have to do with being handicapped, that's wrong. But if I say you're the fucking ugliest person I've ever met,
Mhm.
you're still going to get
That's pretty
offended
mean,
just
dude.
as much.
No,
Right.
but it's different.
Now you're body shaming.
It's different.
That's right.
Now you're
That's-
body shaming.
That's
No,
totally
like,
not cool.
There's different.
You're the worst human being I've ever met.
I discriminate on how I offend people, and so I won't call a woman a bitch, but or anyone. I generally I'll get after any of my kids for calling anyone a bitch because that's not something I think is terrifically useful. So I will come up with all kinds of other perfectly good pejoratives that isn't like. Like not to say that should be banned, but
it's not a word that you particularly.
but it's not a
use.
word that if I am calling some woman on the internet a bitch, then basically I've lost. That's you've just shown a massive lack of imagination and a fail on your
So if I can
argument.
ask, what's your issue with the word bitch?
What is my issue with the word bitch? I enjoy being a bitch. So how is that a
So it's not an
pejorative?
insult.
That's awesome. I
On
like
that note, I was talking to a friend about
High five.
we should stop using genitalia as pejoratives because I think
Exactly.
genitalia is so beautiful and so pleasurable. We should not use it as a negative.
But calling someone
Yeah.
a dick just feels right sometimes.
it
Yeah.
sounds right.
Yeah.
But
For some reason, I have
Yeah.
I have world police in my head. Right now.
Some people are just dicks, and that's just how it is.
What do dicks do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This has been bothering me, so I have to say something. But I think a pejorative is something that's already culturally unacceptable. It's something that has already been through the decline of becoming something that's negative. I think that's what the word pejorative means. It's something that's already negative.
That's fair. So we're using
Right.
it wrong then.
Yeah, sometimes some people are using it wrong.
Yeah, like me.
especially Gumby.
Yeah, no, I'm wrong. That's cool.
Yeah, that's my
I did
favorite.
qualify that by saying I think.
I think. Yeah, okay, mouth breather is a pejorative, but I never understood why.
Yeah.
Because it makes you look particularly stupid.
Okay.
It's the gaping mouth. It's not the fact that you're breathing through your mouth.
It's the southern idiot look.
Yeah, it's the
Gomer Pyle.
Truly the Gomer Pyle.
Whenever I heard somebody call someone a mouth breather, I was like, well, what if his nose is plugged?
What if I call you a scruffy nerf herder?
You're a nerf herder.
I've actually been in some very
Scruffy looking.
some rather scruffy debate groups where somebody always called people window lickers. And I don't understand. I did over and over again. He had a rather big lack of imagination on that coming up with the insult. So everyone was a window licker.
You're a towel.
You're a towel.
You're a towel.
Yeah, that's one of the best.
But back to what you were saying about society
window
in general.
licker, eh?
Yeah, we have come a long way, but we're still killing each other over who has a better imaginary friend. So we haven't come very far. We're just more advanced technologically, and we have better language.
Once again, that's probably quoting it wrong because it's been a long time since I've looked at it. Is it Hobbes?
Thomas Hobbes. Yep.
Yeah. If it wasn't for society,
Life is brutish, nasty, and short. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not the full quote, but yeah.
But the essence of it.
Yep.
And I think that's where that comes in is because, if it wasn't for societal pressures, and there'd probably be a lot more of I don't like my neighbor, stab him to death,
But there was a time in just as recently as like the Wild West times when you could just go ahead and shoot somebody for very little reason. Like, well, you didn't.
The Wild West was not
Texas.
The Wild West was not nearly as wild as they say.
Stand your ground.
But there was duels.
I thought maybe my husband was breaking in, so I shot him 10 times.
But I think historically it wasn't as wild as it got. That's a lot more, bumped up than it actually was. But
I mean, people for stealing cattle, you could get hung. And for like the death,
stealing a lot less than cattle.
Yeah,
really,
for a lot less. I mean, the death penalty.
Less, though.
The death penalty was.
It was thrown around.
So I guess I should rephrase that. I mean, you could just go around shooting people, but I mean, human life meant a lot less. This person is not particularly useful in life. He's done some bad things. We can just
because I've done a little bit of research, not very much, to those days because some relatives did live through those periods. That a lot of the reason why people were just summarily hung for committing crimes back then was the lack of a quick justice system. Like all you had was the sheriff and deputies, and depending on where you lived, if it was in the States, sure you had the rangers that came around once in a while, but you didn't have a courthouse, you didn't have the facilities. So the only way to keep crime down when it's just you and a deputy, and everybody's got a 6-shooter or a gun or a rifle, and there's thousands of people or hundreds of people around you, is to make crime really to look really bad by having justice be swift and harsh, because it was called the Wild West, and that's part of it because they had to control it somehow, and that was the only way. Otherwise, people would be running rampant, raping people or whatever. Well, not necessarily just randomly raping people, because I think we had that discussion on one of the podcasts. And
All right,
maybe.
If there's no laws, we're just people will just randomly rape each other all the time.
I was wondering why you went randomly raping people and looked at me.
We're gonna do another annoying commercial break, and then
did you bing?
I did not bing.
Mine binged.
Oh, because it's right when you said that. I thought you had like a timer or something.
So,
all right,
yeah.
Annoying commercial break.
Annoying commercial break.
Why don't we get money for these?
Because we suck.
So we do commercials for free.
Yeah.
All right, here's your free commercial.
The Brainstorm podcast presents The Shift to Reason, Saskatchewan's first secular conference. It's happening on April 30th, 2016, and features some great speakers that include Seth Andrews, Nate Phelps, and Levada Lewenning, along with others. This one-day event in Regina includes lunch and a VIP after-party with the speakers. Tickets are available at shifttoreason.eventbrite.ca and start at $95 for early bird tickets, with student pricing and limited VIP tickets. Keep up to date with the conference on our Facebook page, facebook.com/shifttoreason.
Hey friends, this is Callie Wright from the Gaytheist Manifesto podcast, your source for news, commentary, discussion, and debate at the intersection of the atheist movement and the LGBT rights movement. I'm sure I don't have to explain to you that there are many atheists and many members of the LGBT community who don't have a family gathering to go to on Thanksgiving. We're often uninvited, or at the very least made to feel unwelcome by our families because of who we are, who we love, or our lack of belief. If you don't otherwise have a place to go the evening of Thanksgiving this year, please consider joining us for a special live show the evening of Thanksgiving from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be joined by special guests including JT Eberhard and David Smalley, and we'll be taking your calls, tweets, and emails about your family experiences and just hanging out and having a good time with our family here. You have a community out here that cares about you. Come hang out with us. Find out more at facebook.com/thegaytheistmanifesto.
Okay, and I also want to tell everybody about audible.com. Audible.com offers listeners of Brainstorm a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial membership. Membership gives you reduced prices on over 150,000 titles for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player, and costs $14.95 per month after the first free month. I finally got around to listening to The End of Faith by Sam Harris.
Oh, yeah? How was that for you?
It's old.
It's old.
I've already... No, it's stuff I've already heard from a million other sources already, but it's still all right. To get this book for free with your 30-day trial membership, go to audibletrial.com/brainstorm. That's audibletrial.com/brainstorm for a 30-day trial membership and a free audiobook download. Now, I guess Dave's lonely over there, so if you're listening to this live, you can chat with Dave on our chat room.
If you have any questions, he'll gladly read them out. We'll
we'll
try our
totally
best to answer them. We have something like 600 people listening right now.
I think somebody just asked, why is Gumby such an asshole?
No, that was you.
I'm sure I see that.
Well, I suspect
that'll take more than an entire show to
It's a
answer.
genetic disease that he's got.
What are you saying about my mom?
She bred an asshole.
Burn.
She bred an asshole.
You know, do we bring up the whole raised or was it,
nature
versus
nature versus nurture?
Yeah.
No, because we're going to talk Canadian politics for a little while.
And we actually have some good news.
Yes.
This is so nice.
I don't know. We haven't really talked about it since we got our new PM, Justin Trudeau. The whole world is amazed by him.
Yeah. Drooling, some of them.
That I want to jump on right now. One thing that's really been pissing me off is how there's all
Something's been pissing you off?
Yeah, surprise. In these days when everybody's trying to be careful and be careful not to be sexist and to say things that are like speaking out about people's bodies and stuff, all the women are saying, "Oh, I wish I was on top of his cabinet," or all this crap. I'm like, really?
No, it's on top getting in on his caucus
staff, or his staff.
It's his caucus.
Yeah. Not just women.
No, I guess I shouldn't say that.
There's a lot of people that were hoping to get on his caucus.
But somebody said that on Facebook, so I quickly just Googled some of the members of Parliament, and I took the first female that popped up, and I said, "Oh, only if I could be in her chair," and all this stuff, and people got pissed off at me.
Yes, because that's not cool.
Right. Anyway, that's all. I'm done being pissed off.
At Gumby is trendy.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
and normal.
Now trending on Twitter.
Do we have? Then maybe we're opening up a can of worms. But what's our opinion on the having a half female cabinet appointment?
From what little I've read, and I've read very little, it's fine. They're all qualified.
Yeah.
Somebody. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think there's a lot of reasons for picking people in cabinet, and he's intentionally looked over some older, whiter, very experienced people.
Whiter.
Honestly, he has. Like,
there's one MP who's translucent.
There's a few, and to intentionally go with a cabinet that is, more gender equal, more diverse, and considerably younger, and that is an intentional strategy, as well as just trying to, it's going for optics. But I think it's
more
also,
than just that, though.
It's more.
Isn't the Minister of Justice an Aboriginal woman?
I think yes.
So we actually have someone
BC.
who might care about all of the disappearing Aboriginal women in the country.
Yes. And
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. There was a whole lot of these cabinet appointments that I was like, wow, that actually takes some. Oh, and there wasn't the Minister of Veterans Affairs quadriplegic. Like, so when you have somebody dealing with people with disabilities that are veterans, you have somebody, he was not a veteran, he was not injured as a soldier, but we have actually 2 significantly physically disabled people on that cabinet. There's a woman that's blind that's in charge of sport and some disabilities or something. So it is a much more diverse cabinet. So he's not just, promised to change things and then, said, oh, well, no, I can't really do that. Here's all the old boys plus a few, token women in very, minor roles, which has generally been how liberal or conservative, that's how it's been. So I see that as quite a, putting his money where his mouth is on that. And like the having this, I think it's probably fairly momentous having the defense minister who was a soldier, he's a Sikh, and like
he's
from
a legitimate badass.
He's a badass. He was also a super cop.
He finds it amusing that people are labeling him a badass, but anyone who is actually going through his CV and look at the medals that he's won and what his commanders were saying about him, that he did this and this and this and this, he is an actual badass. And how long has it been since you've had somebody at the head of that department that anyone would say has any legit military badassness?
Peter MacKay wasn't?
I don't think so.
And Minister of Science that can science.
Yeah.
Well,
I also
and there's the fact that climate change is actually part of the title.
Added to the title of the...
that's a pretty big step.
Also, religious and lack of religious diversity. So I think the cabinet is actually better reflective of the actual entire country.
It's reflective of a less evangelical part of Canada, but that's because all the evangelicals voted for the Conservatives, so they don't get to fucking complain, about how there aren't enough evangelicals in the cabinet when they, as a bloc, always vote Conservative, pretty much.
I mean, I have seen an argument on Facebook where they were talking about how that of the, I don't know the numbers, I just read the quote, but it was like of the 300 and some seats, only 88 were women, and now they get 50% of the cabinet, blah, 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 like spitting out numbers. And I'm like, well, he sort of has a point, but only if originally all things were equal. If all parties put equal parts up, women, in all parts of the election, then they might have a point.
That's a really stupid way to look at that, though.
I don't think they were assigned according to math.
I know. Yeah.
No. I don't think math was the basis of
so out of 301 seats, only 30 of them got to be ministers.
Yeah, I know. And I'm just saying. I read the argument, and I'm like,
that's what they're saying, but they're throwing sex in there for
Well, it was obviously
retards.
Retards. Well, they voted Conservative, so probably. Retards.
Yeah.
I just offended conservatives.
Seeing how we like to have a bit of a religious
we're okay offending conservatives, and we're okay offending Christians. Just
because those are personal choices.
Yay, 7.
But isn't that a kind of a bias?
I think one of the things that we can notice while everybody's giving thumbs up around here is that about half of that cabinet was sworn in by not swearing in. They did a solemn affirmation or whatever. They did not swear on God or anything at all religious. And that included quite a few people that you'd normally consider religious, like the only Muslim on the cabinet, and some of the Sikhs, and some people that, they probably have a religion, but they are basically stepping up and saying, we have a secular way of running government. We're not trying to be on a religious hobby horse and bring, have our religion as our first allegiance, and, the country is the second. So I see that, there's probably a lot of Christians going, Antichrist, Trudeau's the Antichrist, or some such bullshit, because of how very secular that group is. And there are several, people that are identifying as atheists. I saw one article that was counting 6 of them. out of the 15, which is pretty significant considering what a small percentage of the population is. But I think we should just note that since the smart people tend to be atheists, it shouldn't be a big surprise that they're on the cabinet.
Yeah. But I think this cabinet and this government is, and it is, I guess, a bias, but I think this is a huge step in the right direction. I mean, I don't agree with the fact that we should have rules as to gender in the cabinet, but it is necessary when in the past this has never happened before.
It shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, it shouldn't have to be. And I think this is a huge step that in the future it won't have to be. In the future it'll automatically,
Well, you need to give those women the chance,
Exactly.
the experience, and then, later on it shakes out and you say, okay, who's really showed talent? Because they have some really talented people, not just women, but people. But there's some future prime ministers, I think, in that bunch.
Yeah, and it's about setting a precedent. It's about, this can happen and this can work, and women are just as capable of performing in this role as
that was the whole thing where he was asked, well, why did you care about this gender balance?
Because it's 2015.
Mic drop.
That shouldn't even be a question, right? Like, obviously, people who are qualified get the job regardless of their gender, and that's that. Like,
it's supposed to be representative government.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People are supposed to be represented.
And you shouldn't even have to worry. Like, it shouldn't even be a question. It should just be. So what else? Canadian politics.
I really like the website, the Trudeau meter.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty
that's
awesome.
good. It measures his promises and whether he's meeting them or not.
I was pretty skeptical that it was nonpartisan at first, but it looks like it's pretty independent, and it's.
I'd like to see one of those actually be right wing.
That's what I was afraid of.
No, that'd be awesome. Like, no. Oh yeah, he did that.
No.
Fuck.
They wouldn't be honest about it at all.
No. Let's face facts. They probably already have that. It's called the Rebel Media, and it's run by Ezra Levant.
What a fucking ass.
Yeah, what a jack off.
Ezra Levant. Yeah.
So nobody's messaged Dave yet. I feel sorry for the poor guy.
Tell them to message me.
Dave is lonely.
I had $100 riding on the results of the election, and I have to say I won. So
nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
But I was not predicting a majority, and I don't think anyone else was. I figured it'd be a liberal minority.
Yeah.
It blew me out of the water. Like,
yeah, everybody.
I was super.
Everybody
surprised.
wants to be voting for whoever they think is gonna win. So this idea of strategic voting and trying to decide, should this riding be?
I think most of us were voting strategically. I mean, we had to vote for the people that we thought had a chance of getting Harper the hell out.
Yeah, I didn't specifically vote for the Liberals. I voted against Harper.
Yeah,
I voted against Harper as well. Although,
by voting for the Liberals.
I happened to vote for the Liberals incidentally.
Yeah, but things I think kind of just swung at the very last minute, like Thanksgiving weekend. Everybody just said, "Well, we just can." From the way the winds are blowing right now, we think it looks like Trudeau's is more appealing as a leader
than bearded Harper.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of your grumpy uncle, kind of that Mulcair.
I still say every time he was on the debates
and creepy.
He just seemed like he had some little person poking him, going smile.
Yeah,
smile.
He did not come. He didn't come across as genuine. Like whenever he was being the friendly uncle Mulcair, it was like. He came across really creepy. Like, we'd rather have the angry, ranting Mulcair than the creepy uncle.
Because, he would just look at the camera and be like, right, the media coach told me to do this. It's like...
I would have loved to see Western Canada's reaction if he would have won a majority.
Oh, jeez, They would have all
separation
shot
right now.
I already saw people saying, well, this sucks. I'm moving to Russia.
Yes. I had to explain to a guy at work that Putin's the bad guy. We don't want him. You don't want
conservatives
him
like him though.
He's the bad guy.
But he's strong. He's strong.
He's perfect for the conservatives.
He
in a
is
sense.
actually, yeah. It's
and it's Harper gets to go back to Calgary, where he has an NDP premier and a Liberal prime minister and a rather Liberal mayor.
Yeah.
So that's just
Yeah.
quite satisfying.
I love
like,
Calgary's mayor. He's
yeah,
awesome.
actually, he's pretty kick-ass.
He's probably Harper's like going, how did I end up in this socialist hell?
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in the most conservative part of Canada, and now it's really not looking that way.
I wish he had dual citizenship so he can go run in the primaries.
Like in
the US.
that Henry Rollins article, they can fucking have him down there.
Yeah. He wanted to turn into America North anyway.
He did, but the problem is he, in comparison to the Republicans, he's
a
still,
liberal.
He is, yeah.
He's
pretty
a
mild.
flaming liberal.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing I was going to say. I mean, even some of their Democratic presidents are pretty close to Harper. I mean,
but that
like,
was expediency because he had to maintain the Canadian Alliance and Progressive Conservative. They'll join,
Yeah,
which
I mean-
originally was reform. So they trended more and more towards the old reform routes, or not really the reform routes, but the Canadian Alliance routes. But they still had to keep up the veneer of keeping the progressive conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you transported him down to some Coke fundraisers down in the States and lined him up in the primaries, he'd be like Huckabeeing like crazy.
Actually, I think you might.
Nice.
Wow, that's a nice new verb.
That's a nice new verb.
Well
it
done.
should be a verb.
Well, I guess if we're going to take
He's
that
all
route,
Cartering.
then trumping is going to have a whole new meaning as well.
I might want to get trumped.
Trumping.
I will be awesome at that. I'll be so good at that it'll make your head spin.
I like Mexican people.
Some I'm
I
sure are
have
nice
Mexican
people.
people working for me.
I'll be so good with Mexican people it'll make your head spin.
Yeah. Trumping.
I'm going
He
to
is
build
good
a
at
wall and make them pay
under-promising.
for it.
Well,
Trump would build a wall and make them build it.
That's true.
You just see the truck. Hey, all right, I need 50,000 guys. Who's good with cement?
Yeah. But it's also Trump, so you know that he'd have that stamped all along that wall.
Yeah, and made in China.
Made in China.
Call it Trump Wall.
The Trump Wall, yeah.
But I mean, most recently he was saying he was going to deport 11 million Mexicans.
Yeah.
That was his. It seems somewhat ambitious.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're going to deport like 3% of the population of your country. Who cares if they're illegal? They're there working jobs that other people won't.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck getting rid of them.
Well, haven't they said that there's been like next to no actual immigration from Mexico for the last
Net immigration has
yeah.
been like pretty much zero or
Yeah.
negative.
Well, how
More
long-
people are going back.
How long ago was it that which president just said, okay, everybody that's here illegally, you're now a citizen.
That was Reagan.
Vote for me.
That was Reagan.
Yeah, eh?
Reagan was doing a lot of that. And you know what? They
Impossible.
love the Cubans. They love these Cubans coming
The
in from
conservative
Cuba.
hero.
They didn't mind people
Saint
just
Reagan.
arriving on the shores and saying, please, I want to be America. And then, and then everybody like, oh, sure, welcome to our capitalist paradise.
But that was part of the Cuban embargo. They couldn't, because they didn't have diplomatic relations with Cuba, they couldn't actually do anything. They technically couldn't even deport them because they
There's
had
no relations.
Yeah, they had no relations.
It'd be like deporting somebody to the moon. It just can't
Yeah,
be done.
exactly. So
You
since they were even denying that Cuba existed, pretty much, so we have no connections with Cuba. We can't even deport these guys.
Yeah.
So what else we got?
Well, what do you think? Is the atheist movement falling apart? Attacking itself too much?
I'm not even sure it's a movement. That's where I
Bell
want to
movement.
start.
That's where you want to start? So is there an atheist movement?
There's no
Is that a
solid
thing?
cohesiveness. Not like
Who is
And,
it that
and I
was
don't
saying
think
was
you
like
should
herding
expect there
cats?
to be,
The
because you got a
problem
whole
with
I
bunch
think
of
that was a.
it's
David
just a bunch of
Silverman.
people
Yeah.
that don't believe something.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
So there's certain.
It's hard to organize when we have nothing in common except the fact that we don't
yeah,
believe in any gods.
it's not like there's a movement of not golfers.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you've got certain clumps that tend to agree. Like you end up with some
Like how you call us
right-wing
clumps.
libertarian type. you end up with some libertarian bro types that are atheists that tend to clump together a bit and kind of tend to be assholes. And then some more left-leaning ones.
Of course, they're assholes. They're randroids.
Yes, the randroids. And then so you end up with some more left-wing ones that will sometimes bicker amongst themselves, but tend to clump together a little bit more. So it's a very loose kind of associating groups, but they tend to have more in common. The ones that clump together do tend to have more in common than just we don't believe in God.
I think sometimes there's an element of when you get enough together, there's I'm smarter than you. No, I'm smarter than you. I think there's a little element of that goes on too.
Yeah. Well,
You're an
in any
atheist?
movements, they have things like
1784. Oh, I can't remember that thing. That was hilarious.
Oh, the emo Phillips joke.
Yeah,
that one was pretty funny.
But that correlates directly to atheists. We're the same way because we you're right. We have our pockets. We have our cliques.
Yeah.
And because we're not an actual organization, there's no cohesiveness. There's no.
It's like herding cats because I think there's something about a lot of people that are atheists that they don't like following other people. They don't like going along with a program, and so then it becomes a herding cats kind of situation. So some of them will form social communities. Some of them form communities, and some of them are like, no thank you, I want to just rant at people on Twitter. So
But, in some ways that could actually be a better for lack of a better word system, because let's say you have your hillbilly rednecks, right? Other hillbillies are more apt to listen to hillbilly atheists. I said hillbilly rednecks.
Yeah.
Same word.
Same thing.
Although that'd be an interesting concept, a hillbilly redneck atheist.
Yeah.
What?
there is
No. I'm just
Cletus, do you believe in God?
There's one guy that has
I'm just using that as a basic example because that's something that's
a basic
different, right?
example of something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, there are some.
So let's say there's a hillbilly atheist, right, or some hillbilly atheists.
Yeah.
Other hillbillies are more apt to listen to them than they are to listen to us.
And there
So
are some,
having
like there's some
different divergent groups
podcasters. There's a couple of them like down in the south that got the accent.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah, like I forget some
Atheist
of the names.
on Air.
of them.
Atheists on Air. Cash.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
the Cash Firestein. There's another guy that's like a YouTuber that I forget his name, but he's rather redneck.
Oh, I hope you're not talking about the guy that we had on the show.
I don't know.
Which
a
guy?
few shows ago.
Might be.
I always forget the name of his
Oh,
show.
I think it was because I think we were going to have him on before one time, and then he canceled.
The only other podcaster we've had on.
JD? No.
No, we did it. We interviewed him. There was two of them. There was him and a Czech.
Oh, I see.
They're both from the States.
I don't know. Anyways,
drawing a complete blank.
There's all kinds of people from all different walks of life.
Or
who?
Peckard or
Packard.
Packard.
Packard
That
is
wasn't the one I was thinking of.
Packard and Connie
Yeah.
from the Packard Pokes. That's a different. Yeah, I don't think he's from the south.
Yeah. Anyways, so there's I think there is merit to having you have people that you can relate to, saying, "Look, I get it why you believe this stuff, but really it's bullshit." And this is why, and coming up with analogies that people can relate to. That's very useful.
I think it can also get through. Like we've had that discussion here about the difference between I am not just atheist, I'm anti-atheist. Like you're pretty
Right.
hardcore about that, and then you slide down to I'm just atheist, and then there's those that are agnostic, and then you just can't you can't. There's no such thing as agnostic, and that's probably where the whole movement starts to
Yeah.
spiral
bicker.
downward.
Yeah.
It seems like, and
You don't disbelieve as hard as I
Well,
disbelieve.
I think some of the people who are perceived to be the leaders
Yeah.
of the movement are actually a little bit. Some of what they do is counterproductive, like Dawkins and all those people.
No.
They're perceived to be just assholes.
Yeah.
Who are attacking people. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
Somewhat lacking in social skills.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've seen those, and like,
I don't know. Like, have you
Hitchkins
seen
is
Dawkins' his interview with that one disbeliever in evolution? That one chick. I don't remember her name.
Yeah, I can't remember her name.
But he dealt with her way better than I could have.
Yeah.
I mean, he actually listened to what she had to say. There's no way I could do that. She was completely idiotic. So,
I was just listening to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe today. Steve Novella had just gone to a creationist university or church or whatever it was, and he's telling the story about how he was debating this creationist and how he made his points as good as he could, and he was very clear and forceful but polite, and everybody else on the SU was like, "You are way more patient than I would have been."
Yeah.
Like, this is why you're the spokesperson and I'm not.
Yeah.
I guess in those kind of debates, you can't just go, "Fuck you."
Like, and even some of them that look like they wouldn't be patient, like Aaron Raw doesn't look like a patient dude.
Aaron
Raw, sorry. But he is. I've listened to him talk quite a bit, and he's really well spoken.
Oh, yeah.
Really smooth. He doesn't get irate. Doesn't throw tantrums.
But he doesn't take shit either.
Well, no,
and
but
that's
you shouldn't have
what
to
I
either.
like. That's what
Like,
I like.
he'll call a spade a spade.
Yeah,
See,
exactly.
I think that's the problem. People look at the what's perceived to be the atheist leadership, and they see people who aren't willing to take shit.
Right.
So they think the atheist movement is militant because the perceived to be leadership isn't willing to take shit.
Right.
And we'd be way more efficient if we were organized.
So in order for us to have good leadership, we have to have leadership that's willing to take shit. That's
That
what I'm
doesn't
getting
sound
out of the
right.
whole thing.
That doesn't sound right at all.
Well, you don't have a unifying ideology.
No, we
You know,
don't.
So
By not having an ideology. That's
yeah, well, there you go.
But I guess the larger question would then be, should there be a larger unifying group or anything? I mean, is it maybe it's the best way to go to just have people out there randomly doing their own thing, disbelieving?
It seems like it would be nice to have a better support system for people.
The people that want
anything,
community
the
tend to come
unification
together.
Yeah.
would come from humanism, I think.
Right.
And the people that want community tend to want a more diverse group to have community with. That's not, maybe that doesn't apply to all of them. But I think in a lot of cases, they don't want to be at a conference with like 80 guys and 2 women. Like, or, you know, all old
fest,
white people. The
as it's known
enormous
as.
sausage fest. So, you know, they want to have more women involved, but then it becomes a thing where you have to not, you know, piss them off so that they don't want to come. So, you know, there's been a lot of growing pains in the movement to say, yes, you know, we want a more diverse and less asshole-ish sort of community that doesn't, you know, that where you don't just have some guy yelling over top of people because he assumes that that's his, you know, that's his appropriate place, and there's all these other people going, I have something to say. And I think a lot of conferences have made a point of having, you know, a more diverse lineup instead of just saying we are going to have 6 white guys on, you know, and that's all, because that's all that matters.
I got 2 female speakers at my conference.
You come out to a sausage fest all the time here.
I am the token
podcast,
female on the sausage fest that is.
Yeah, we have token everything. We have a token brown guy.
Yeah.
He's also the one doing all the work. And he's not even Filipino.
Oh, shit.
We might end up with a token Filipino / Mexican / Ukrainian. He's
You
a half of
chippy.
each. Yeah.
He's a half of each.
That math doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, okay.
The thing about Chippy is if he ends up in the podcast, he's amazing. So
Yeah,
he's
Chippy
just
would
an
do well.
amazing individual.
Yeah.
Well, it might be your replacement then.
What we're going to be doing, Corey and I have
Well, he's
started
a bit
talking
of a
about it, and
philosopher
Dave.
too, so he can totally be my replacement.
Good.
Is
Because we
we're-
need the drunk philosopher segment.
We're thinking of having. There's 4 people I know that are interested in the show. Well, 3 for sure. One of my coworkers just told me her sister was interested in the podcast, just to listen to it. So we decided that we would try to get her on to the show because she also happens to be a scientist.
More than one female might
and both
be
scientists.
a good thing.
Yeah. And we're going to have them on for a tryout, all 4 at once. So we'll have to steal some music, like.
I like The Apprentice.
You're fired.
Somebody can wear a Donald Trump wig.
People don't see.
We
us.
should have game show like questions for them, and like just run them through the gears.
Well, hopefully by then we have enough listeners that they can start asking questions of the new.
As long as it's game show questions, not like those stupid, beauty pageant.
Yeah, so we have people auditioning.
In 10 words or less, how would you fix the world's economy?
We have 4 people auditioning for yours and Raz's spot.
Yeah.
All right.
And because I know 3 of them, and the other one I don't know, but she's my boss's sister, so I don't get to vote on who wins. That's up to Cory and the rest of everybody else and Dave.
Raz totally isn't replaceable.
No,
not
he's not.
Not at all. Like without the show, I don't know what we're going to do without him in the show.
But
same with you.
We're going to continue. That's what we're going to do. We're going to make do.
We'll still Skype Mike in once in a while, I think, or he can come in for
maybe
the odd guest show appearance.
We're going,
or they can like
about
tape
logic
you
or
talking
something.
about something. Corey, you can record talking about something.
Or you could be in the chat and just insult me through chat.
Yeah.
Dave can.
I'll just chat with
portray
Dave and
them
go,
all.
"Who the fuck is this Gumby asshole?"
That's all you're going to say. You're actually just going to have that copied. You're going to have like a whole text thing, copy and paste
cut,
shit.
paste.
Yeah. Fuck this clown. Who the fuck's this guy?
Fuck this
clown. Just sample Mike, and then Dave can have like the sample drum pad.
The mic soundboard.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to actually call an end to this episode for the live portion anyway. We're going to record a little bit longer for patrons. You can join us the next live broadcast. Just watch our events on Mixlr or watch the Facebook page.
We'll be talking about the secrets of the Illuminati.
Yeah, that's right. Which will be just for patrons.
Yeah.
So,
So you have to
Just so you know.
You have to pay your money to know the secret society.
Secret society shit.
handshakes and
And we, a spoiler alert: it's going to be about the pineal gland,
Which is controlled by the Illuminati.
Yeah.
The link to our Mixlr page plus anything else will be on brainstormblog.net, or you can check for episodes on thebrainstormpodcast.com. We appreciate your support, and if you want the extra content from after the live show, then you can go and become a patron at patreon.com/brainstormpodcast. Thanks, Dave, for our intro music, and then thanks to Alex Capper-Murdoch for doing the voiceover and some of our ads.
Oh, is that the amazing?
The amazing
Scottish chick.
Yeah, Scottish voice.
We'll have to get her to revoice it eventually.
Remember to
fucking
check
awesome.
out. Yeah, we're gonna have to redo everything because of the
You
crew
fuckers.
changes. But
I already bitched at Heidi today once.
remember to check
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
our Brainstorm gear at cafepress.ca/brainstormpodcastgear, or go to the website brainstormblog.net and click the Cafe Press link.
Or go to Corey's closet.
I do have a bunch in my trunk. Yeah.
Corey has junk in his trunk.
Much classier.
I want to thank the Utah Outcasts podcast for playing the Shift to Reason ad I sent out, and thanks to everyone else who shares the conference page and the podcast page. If you didn't get a chance to contact us through the live chat, I don't know why you wouldn't if you were listening. You can email us at mail@brainstormblog.net. Not dot not.
Not.
mail@brainstormblog.net, or go to the website and click the contact tab.
The what?
The contact tab.
Okay.
Remember to give us a rating on your favorite podcatcher. More reviews and ratings give the show more exposure. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you again in a couple winks.
We just wanted to say thanks to everyone who listens to us, shares the show, gives us a rating on iTunes or Stitcher, or supports us through Patreon and Gumroad. We don't have a lot of interaction sometimes with our listeners, but what we have had proves that we attract some of the best people around. Smart, kind, and cool. An audience truly worthy of the titles hardcore and woo-free. Thanks for helping us make the world a smarter place.
This is an opinion-based podcast. Each person on the podcast is responsible for their own opinions, and those opinions don't necessarily reflect the views of the rest of the panel. Any guests or anyone associated with the people on the podcast, such as spouses, partners, children, other family members, friends, or employers. No one person speaks for the podcast, with the possible exception of Cory, and he doesn't speak for anyone else on the show. The Brainstorm podcast does not represent the views of our sponsors.